Hey, this is Moody, and that's Jack, and we are Super Debate Bros.
All right, guys, we're going to introduce the channel before we get into today's video. As you can see, today's video is Allin 2024 review. That is partially what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be doing some reviews on wrestling, week in the NFL, week in the NBA, stuff we're passionate, but as you see our name, Super Debate Bros, we're going to actually be going through a lot of debates. Our first topic we're going to be doing in a couple days is going to be LeBron versus Jordan, and we're just going to talk about stuff we're passionate about: anime, video games, sports. We're going to debate it. We're two dudes who just want to have fun. Got some bad takes, but we want to share them with the world. Hopefully, you guys enjoy. Eventually, maybe we'll do some video essays talking about all our passions, but for now, we're going to just focus on debating and reviewing certain sports topics. But without further ado, we're going to get into today's video.
All right, today's video we're going to be reviewing All In that happened last Saturday in London. This is AEW's WrestleMania, as some people like to call it, and this is probably their biggest event they have all year.
Definitely their biggest event. Wembley's the biggest stadium that they have put on. So we're going to skip the 0 hour. No offense to anybody in the 0 hour. It's just we didn't have time to watch it. So we're going to start with the main show.
All right, so first was the trios match, and the trio match had the House of Black, uh, the
The
Black
BCC plus Pac.
yeah, the Blackpool Combat Club. It also had
The
the
patriarchy.
the Patriarchs. I couldn't remember that new team's name, and it also had the Bang
Bang,
Bang
bang,
Gang, which is
bang, bang.
also the Bullet Club. Yeah, without Jay
Yeah,
White.
Bullet Club Gold.
First thing I'm gonna say about this match, I'm not a big fan of a crazy match with a lot of people and just a lot of hoopla happening. But the first compliment I'll give for this match, they did a good job introducing everyone and everyone having some sort of role. I mean, let's be real, it was a 12-man ladder match. So,
No, for sure. And it's hard for everybody to get their moments, but I think for the most part, everybody got to shine a little bit. Everybody got some good screen time, had some good bumps. And I agree with you. When matches get like this, they have natural highs because there's going to be some crazy spots that everybody talks about, but it's also going to have some lows. With spot fest like that, there's moments where it looks clunky, feels kind of congested, and just doesn't look right. And like one spot for sure was like, I don't know. I just felt like there was certain spots, especially with Mama Wayne when she came in and she was using her heel and stuff. I felt like it was kind of getting a little ridiculous, wasn't flowing as well, kind of took away from the match. But I don't know about your thoughts of the overall match.
I didn't have a necessarily issue with her, but it definitely slowed down the match, especially right before that. I believe a couple wrestlers were just jumping on each other from the top rope. They took that little break and then they kept adding more people jumping from the top rope in the front. That's a classic thing that everyone does in ladder matches at this point. AEW does it, WWE does it. It's like the money bank. Everyone needs to jump off on top of each other at the front of the ring. Um, what stands out a little bit is Christian Cage obviously playing his heel, not showing up half the match and just kind of doing his own thing. His biggest thing was he also did a spear off the ladder, which was kind of surprising because he
Yeah, for
didn't.
someone who's 50 plus.
Yeah, and it just felt like he kind of had a chance to win there, but he decided to do the spear almost like a face would do. But nevertheless, I couldn't believe a 50-year-old would do something like that.
I agree, but I think overall, like coming out of the match, Christian, I still think had the best highlights. I feel like his spots, his moments were the most memorable. Like everything about Christian, the way that AEW is presenting him, I think this is the best run of his career. I don't know if you agree with that, but he just looks so strong. Everything he does, like, has such conviction to it. Like I'm just I feel like this is the top of Christian's game, and it's crazy for someone who's so old, but he's got it in him.
Heel Christian is the best kind of Christian. I wasn't there for TNA. I didn't watch a lot of TNA back then, but I'll just say the WWE underutilized him a lot, and he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And it's great to see him that he's still wrestling and keep himself fresh. Especially after that neck injury he had in 2013, it almost seemed like he was going to be forgotten and just be Edge's sidekick the whole time. Well, now he seems like he runs AEW, and Edge seems like to be his sidekick, kind of where he's not relevant. But
No, he's definitely stepped out of Edge's shadow now. Like especially in AEW, the way they present him, he's turned himself into a star.
Yeah, Vince did never believing in him. Don't understand why. He proved himself in TNA, comes back, just keeps him kept him in ECW and never really utilized him since. The only reason why he won the world championship back then was because Edge got hurt or he had to retire.
Yeah, it's like when Ray won because of Eddie. It's just one of those things where the feel good story, but as you see, they took it off him in what, a month to Randy Orton. So
No, 2 days.
it was just oh yeah, see,
Yeah, yeah.
the program went a long time, but yeah, I
It
forgot how fast the turnaround was.
it was a great program. They made him heel, but it's just like they didn't do anything after that. I know he got hurt, but like, and that's been an injury or issue for him for a while because he got older with his neck. But still, his prime in WWE was in 2005. He wrestled John Cena and Chris Jericho back then at Vengeance. They didn't believe in him, and he knew the writing was in the wall. He took him chance himself on TNA, and it seems like WWE is not the place for him. And it just seems like programs like AEW and TNA will be always the best for him. I mean, now Triple H runs it, but I feel like at this point with his age, I don't see a WWE return coming anytime soon unless he's trying to retire and just get that last kind of money he can get.
I agree, but to focus elsewhere, I want to say I feel like most teams did get a good shine, but I do feel like just for me, the House of Blacks, particularly, Malachi Black, I felt like he kind of was in the background, and so was the team. Buddy, and Brody got a few moments, and they looked good when they were out there. But I felt like Malachi kind of, you know, faded to the background, and they really didn't get their shine for such a big team. And they got pretty much one of everything. They got the big man, they got the technician, and then they got the athletic high flyer. And for whatever reason, they just keep falling back and back into obscurity.
Yeah, it really seems that I don't know how long Malachi Black is going to his contract last. I believe it's till 2027 in W or AEW, but I don't see him re-extending that contract. I feel like he's been underutilized really badly. And to be honestly, Brody King I've also was the most used House of Black, and
Yeah, I agree with that.
what's crazy enough, he is like not no insult to him, but Malachi and Buddy are much bigger people. All right, name
Yeah,
wise.
I think their star is bigger, and I think they deserve a little bit more shine. But Brody, he just has that presence with his size and is that like for being such a big guy, how athletic he is. That's something that every wrestling promoter just loves for whatever reason.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely a scary dude. All those tattoos and everything. He does have an aura for him. But yeah, House of Black's been unutilized. I feel like for the excuse me the Bang Bang Gang, I feel like it's such a weird tag team. I don't know how I feel about them. It's just Austin and Colton. They seem obviously they're Billy Gunn's kids, but sometimes I feel like they're just carried by based off their name. I not to say they're terrible wrestlers, but like it seems like
I
there's
think they're better promo workers than they are ring workers. But
yeah.
their character work, I mean, I think they're just the perfect slime ball heels. And I think Juice is I think they're a fun combination, but I think without Jay White, I think they're not that serious and they have no direction. I think they're just waiting for him to return. And they need him to be the voice for them. They need him to kind of be the main center point. It can't revolve around. It's not going to work if it's revolving around Juice or if it's revolving around the Guns. They need to be the side characters who bring a little bit of fun, who make you want to hate them. While Jay, I think, is the one who makes you invested and makes you think they can actually do something.
Yeah, I think it kind of stinks that Jay White is kind of stuck in this trios era with him. He had that singles run a little bit with against MJF last year in December, but it just seems like I know he's been hurt, but it seems like he's just with such a big name you bring from New Japan, and it's just kind of like, yeah, we have a lot of room up the top. Maybe we'll give you a chance later on, kind of thing. But right now, you're going to give you this trios. I feel like he deserves much better. We'll see what they do with him, but I have not liked the run that he has had.
No, it's definitely been underwhelming, and there's such a high ceiling for Jay White. I mean, in NJPW, he was the man. He was the person who was running the show. So to see him in AEW be relegated to the trios division, I get it. He is a big name for the division, but they have so many big names. They have so many big teams. It's you know let him kind of run the singles division and let these three run the trios division. But once he's back, that's when I think it'll start clicking again.
Yeah, I never feel like the Bullet Club's ever done correctly in North America. I might be wrong, but it's just WWE failed
No,
with AEW and Finn Balor. I don't know what to do with Ring of Honor, but like Jay White, who is such a big deal and big Bullet Club's such a big deal over there, they bring them there here, and it just feels like they're just sidekicks or just not like they're not even on the same level. It's just very weird. You would feel like
no,
you would just base their name Bullet Club already gives them enough presence.
I agree. Their name alone should make them seem a bigger deal. And Tony Khan has always loved the Bullet Club. He's wanted his own Bullet Club, and then he gets it, and I don't know. I feel like he hasn't done anything with it.
Yeah, I mean, you had so many former members there, but yeah. How I feel about this match though, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. I liked it. It's better than like the average tag team ladder match, but again, these matches are hard for me to rate. They're not great. It's just they're fun to watch a bit, but they get staged. Everyone's just doing the same thing over again. It's standard, and then it's just kind of like, yeah, we like, okay, cool. This match was cool. Ready to move on.
No, and I funny enough have a 3-star rating for it as well. I think like you said, it's fun. There's a lot of high energy spots, but there's also the lulls, the clunky spots. Just makes it slightly above average. It sets the pace for the show that it's going to be a lot of action, a lot of stuff going on, but at the same time, you know, it's not going to be the match that I remember going forward.
Yeah, and speaking of next match, I'm not happy to talk about this match because it's my favorite wrestler of all time, but Chris Jericho versus Hook for the FTW belt, and let's just say the Fozzy performance in the beginning wasn't that great. I don't need to see more Fozzy on AEW. I know Jericho was the original champion and he was the first big guy to come. I love Jericho; he's my favorite wrestler. We don't need Fozzy if he's gonna perform anything. He has to perform Judas. Um, I'm not the biggest fan of the Learning Tree um, thing he's doing. I wish he would just kind of focus on something else. I think Jericho needs to be off TV in general, but that's another topic we could get into.
No, I agree with you. I think the Learning Tree, it was a fine attempt to save some kind of story, but it's not working the way other things have worked. And I think he's so overexposed. Everything with Chris Jericho, it's almost like Cody, where he had his own universe, the Codyverse, and everything seemed like it was independent of AEW. I feel like it's the same way with Jericho. Everything he does is independent of what's going on with AEW. It's all focused on him, and it's overshadowing him. It's overexposing him. It's not working anymore. I think he needs to take a break, let us start to miss him, and then come back. And I think he would be in a much better position than he is right now.
Yeah, pacing is matters when it comes to wrestling. Jericho was great in WWE. For the example, he only would show up maybe once a year, maybe a couple times a year, and I feel like you know he seems like he's been wrestling 5 years nonstop, and no matter who you are, when you're that old, people are gonna be tired of seeing you. It's hard to make him a full-on heel because he's so everyone loves him, but you can't make him a full-time face because people are just sick of him. And especially with this match with Hook, I'm gonna speak about Hook's entrance. I like hearing Taz's. They had like Taz's intro in there, which is pretty smart. Obviously, Taz's kid. Um, but the biggest problem with this match, Hook is protected too much. It seems like he doesn't have a big move set. It doesn't seem like he really could wrestle well. And I, I get it. He's Taz's kid, but like when you put him in matches like this, I know Chris Jericho could make things work typically, but you have an older Chris Jericho with working heel. You're working with someone that isn't hasn't the capacity of really wrestling yet, and it's just like the match was so slow and it didn't make any sense. It was no qualified match, and it just kept feeling like they were. It doesn't make sense. Hook winning. It's a no DQ match, and he
I get it, but Hook needed the win just because Jericho's been getting the upper hand on him, and I feel like obviously after Dynamite today, Jericho didn't go away, but if Hook like winning, beats the Learning Tree, overcomes the odds, you can end that storyline. You can give Jericho a natural break. The way that he beat him, tapped him out, pretty like definitive win.
yeah.
Jericho could have taken a break, and I think it would have been fine. Obviously, that wasn't the case. Jericho already was back today. He had another match, but that's once again a different story. And I agree with you. Hook is like he's got an aura to him that is very very cool and underrated. In that like entrance with the Taz beginning going into his own song, it's very, it can, you can see why they see something in him. He's got that it factor, he's got the look, he's got the aura, like I said, but he's just not there yet. And they're featuring him in such a prominent role. He was much better when he was, a tag team and he got to be the guy to come in and bring the energy, or he was the silent badass protector almost. But being the singles guy on his own, he can't cut a promo. He is so protected. He can literally only do a takeover suplex or a belly to belly suplex, but he or throw a punch. But he's got nothing, you know, new. He's not reinventing the wheel. He's not bringing his own style other than just some hard hitting and some suplexes. He's almost like Brock Lesnar light, but without the aura.
Yeah, he doesn't even have the mic skills for it. I mean, even Brock, he kind of stuck at the mic, but he got a lot better with it. I know it took a lot of time, but it's just Chris Jericho is one of the best talkers of all time, and to have this match with him and the match being like the match wasn't great. Jericho couldn't do anything with him, and I really feel like he didn't have the mic skills. So it's like he won the championship right now, right? His dad's old champion, the FW. What else could be next for him? He isn't going to compete for the TNT title. He isn't going to compete for the Intercontinental Championship or the what's the other one? I apologize, but I don't remember the other name. It's international. It's international and there's Continental Championship. Um, he's not going to compete for any of those, and it seems like I don't know if you don't have a if he can't wrestle and he can't speak, find a different role for him. Make him be an enforcer or something with someone until he learns. But this stinks. I don't know. This match was like this is the lowest rated match I had, and just for him, it's just for him to like somehow overpower Chris Jericho, and his partners. I just feel like the match didn't matter and I didn't care for it. I almost fell asleep through this match. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't an exciting match. I think the apple spot when he was throwing the apples was kind of funny. But like even still, when they tried to do like the body slam on the apples, like it
It
just
missed.
I was like, yeah, this is fine. There's just nothing that's pulling me in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was cool that they did a father son transmission, but like
Yeah, the ending was fine, but that doesn't make up for.
99% of the
Well, it
match.
was like a
Yeah.
15-minute match. It doesn't make up for the first 14 minutes.
Honestly, if they made the match like 2 minutes and just did it like that, like just real quick, have the ending, this match would have probably been a lot better. But this match just sucked. It took way too long, and pacing matters. You can't have a wrestler that can't wrestle longer than 5 minutes. I mean,
I I agree.
yeah. I mean, I had this match like honestly 1 out of 5, and I only have it one because I like Chris Jericho. I wasn't going to give it a 0.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I have it at a 1 star as well. It wasn't disgusting to watch, but it just was boring. It wasn't something that I would want to watch again. Definitely the low light of the show.
Oh, and you know what? I just realized we skipped the second match.
Yeah, I know you did. I wasn't going to bring it up, but yeah, next we can talk about the AEW World's Women's Championship, Tony Storm versus Mariah May, which, to no one's surprise, I'm sure was one of the biggest matches of the night. People were excited to see how this story would potentially end. Obviously, Mariah turning on Tony, using the heel, and then breaking up from her teacher or her mentor and going her own way, becoming, I don't know, probably the perfect heel for this storyline. I think it was just a great match, a great ending to this story, and now I'm excited to see Mariah May as the champion. And honestly, I'll say this: I'm shocked at how well this has been working. Like you would expect in a division with Britt Baker and Sasha and or Mercedes Moné going at it, you would think that would be the biggest women's storyline coming out of it and going into it. But it was, they did such a good job building this match, and then they had such a good match. It overshadowed everything completely with that, and they are dominating the women's division.
Yeah, I missed part of this match, as you know. So that's why I skipped it because I couldn't. I just honestly forgot that the match happened because I was able to watch it. But Tony losing was very surprising to me. I understand why Mariah won. I thought Tony would win. Um, and yeah, I mean, this is the best women's story that existed. I think even in WWE, this is the best story in general for women's wrestling. You know,
I agree. It was like, yes, like they would kiss, but it wasn't over. It wasn't like sexual in storyline. They obviously did some sexual things, and unfortunately, women's wrestling probably isn't going to go away from that. It's just the way the wrestling works. That's how our fan base is, unfortunately.
yeah,
But but they like the story was about Tony taking Mariah, showing her the way, being this icon, wanting to be this classic femme fatale, wanting to be the star, and then bringing this up and comer with her, and finally the up and comer turns on her mentee or mentor, becomes the main star, wants to step into her spotlight, and then the match ends with Tony having a chance to you know do what Mariah did to her, put the heel in her head, so to speak, and she just couldn't do it, which caused her downfall. But and it ended up Mariah being the heartless person she is in the story. She was able to take advantage of that and end up winning the match, something that her mentor couldn't do. And then you see it might not be over, but I think if this was over, they did a perfect job with it. I have nothing but great things to say. I think this was easily a 5-star match. They killed it.
yeah. No, I wish I saw it. I wasn't able to, but I believe in the 5 stars. Uh, I just hope Mercedes doesn't ruin what Mariah is doing. But
I'm sure they're going to intertwine at some point, but yeah, Mariah and Tony, that story was on a different level, and I'm curious to see what direction they take it now, if they continue it or if they try to veer into a new storyline for the two women.
yeah. All right. So next match we're going to talk about is the three-way tag match: FDR versus Young Bucks and the Acclaimed. My first complaint for this match: you shouldn't have two separate tags that were almost the same color. I understand they both like pink. One of them should have talked to the other one. Um,
Not that big a deal for me, but I get what you're saying.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie, not the biggest fan of this match, and I think it's because we saw another tag match 2 matches prior. Um, and I don't have any issues with tag team matches, but I feel like they should be a little bit more separated, a little more space. Um, I know one was a trios match, and it was a ladder one. This one's just a triple threat ladder match. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of triple threat regular matches. It's kind of slow, it's kind of boring. I understand why, but I just don't like the idea of a whole nother tag team just sitting out the whole time. I feel like the beginning of the match was boring. I didn't care for the stand. They had a small standoff. Um, I'll let you get in before I start. Before I keep going in.
I think I like the match a little bit better than you, but I don't. Once again, I think you know, with these tag matches, especially a Bucks match, that it's going to be once again a bit of a spot fest. But
Yeah.
I think these are three of the best tag teams AEW has to offer. So I think whatever they put together isn't going to be bad. But I do think it could have been smoother. I think, I do agree with you. If you're doing a triple threat tag team match, just have all three teams going at it. There's no point of doing the whole tagging in and only two teams can be in, and it just I don't want to say it's confusing, but it's just I don't get why they would do that. It seems it's questionable at best. I feel like it would flow better. It would be more exciting, more action packed. There would be more suspense if all three teams are in at once, as opposed to the two teams in at once and then having to tag in and tag. I just doesn't work for me with a triple threat tag match.
No, and for sure, I believe like you said, with the Young Bucks, is a spot fest. They work better at tornado tags than regular tags, in my opinion. I feel like this is kind of well known. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Young Bucks. I really don't like them. I've never liked them since I started watching AEW. Um, I know that's not really a hot take. A lot of people are tired of them, but I didn't even like them back in 2020. Didn't watch them in the Indies. I don't watch Indies wrestling, but they're big super kickers. Not a fan. FTR, one of my favorite tag teams. Acclaim, a good tag team. I also love their promo. They had the Scissor Me Daddy. Fun fact: I was there when they first started using it. I believe you were there as well.
Yeah, me and you were both there. We were in that Chicago crowd that started the big "Oh Scissor Me Daddy" chant. We were also there, just a fun fact, for the Rusev and Hobbs match. We started the meat chance. So just give us our credit where we deserve it, guys. Just remember that.
Yes.
But back to this match. Sorry.
Yes. This match. No, no. I mean, we were there. Chicago's a fantastic wrestling city. I don't care what anyone says. But
It's
and
the best, no doubt.
it is the best. Especially it's the best, and AEW has our home in it, which I appreciate. But back to this match. This match was just boring. Nothing special about it. I have nothing special to say about it. I don't like to be honest with you. Out of all the matches, it's kind of the least I remember. I even remember the Chris Jericho match a little more because it stood out a little more. But all this match was a bunch of jumping, a bunch of kicking, a bunch of super kicks, a bunch of breakouts, a bunch of false finishes. I just wasn't. I didn't care for this match. This is like my least favorite kind of tag team matches. It could be done so much better, especially the talent they have. And even if I hate the Young Bucks, they're somewhat talented. This could have been a lot better match. I had this at 2 out of 5.
I have it as 3 out of 5. Again, I think it's on the same quality as the other tag match. I just, the action was good. It just felt disjointed at times, and the the chemistry between them, while they've all wrestled so many times, just didn't seem like they had it going that night. So I felt disinterested at times, but there was so many fun spots. There was a lot of action that it, at least it's rewatchable. It's something that I don't think was terrible. I don't think it was great. I think it's 3 out of 5 stars, just slightly above average.
Yeah, like mentioned, I probably would never watch that match again, but I'm also slightly biased. But our next match, our favorite match of the fucking, oh excuse me, but of the night, but the Casino Battle Royale.
So I think me and you are gonna have different takes here. I think the match itself was fine, but there's a lot of things that I didn't like about it. But we can get into that. I'll let you continue.
Well, I'll say this clearly. I don't. I miss a few of the AEW pay-per-views prior to this, so I haven't really seen Okada wrestle a lot. However, I'll say this now: I watched Okada wrestle because I believe he was number 2 with
Yes,
sorry, what's his name? Who's number 1?
Orange Cassidy.
Orange Cassidy. They wrestled. I like Orange Cassidy. I liked his his talent. I like his character a lot. His character is honestly fantastic to me. Well, Okada, I felt bad being. One thing I don't like about Okada, he's just stuck with the Young Bucks and he's stuck with the new Elite. I feel like he could. I feel like he's not really shown as much. However,
I love Okada with them. I think they work, but I think you're just biased against the Bucks and you hate it regardless. Even though
right.
I think it is working. I think obviously he's big enough to be by himself, but I think this is a good way to get him introduced, put him with the biggest tag team name in AEW.
I
But go on.
no, I wish for Okada is using more single matches like on pay-per-view. I feel like he's either in a tag or a multi-man. I know AEW has a lot of multi-man, a lot of tags for they have so much talent, but I wish the singles. But anyways, Okada wrestled really well. This is my one of my first impressions of Okada, and I really like him. His wrestling style is fantastic. He just wrestled great. He doesn't need all these gimmicks. The first big surprise was Nigel. I know I don't know him well enough.
Yeah, no, Nigel. Obviously, I've heard for years that he's going to come back. He's this indie legend. He's someone who shouldn't be done, and seeing him come back, that was a cool pop, especially in his pseudo hometown of London. But at the same time, I don't know about you. I feel like he was fine. I wasn't overly impressed with him, but I wasn't like, thank God this guy's back.
No, I mean I didn't know who he was. Like I said, I'm not an Indies fan. I watched W 9% of my life. He had some cool spots. There's a spot that looked ugly as hell with Okada, and it was kind of his fault. He was just very slow. And like I said,
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
with most wrestlers, you probably shouldn't. If it's cool to have those spots, but make sure you're able to do it and make it look realistic. I know with wrestling is not it's choreographic, but you gotta make it look real. It's okay, it's cool for him to return. But we should talk about the rules. I didn't understand this match until towards the end. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with this because usually a Casino Royale gauntlet match is I see that they're calling it a gauntlet match now, but I'm pretty sure they were calling it a Casino Battle Royal building up. And what I was expecting was, the normal 21 competitors. You have the 5 start in from either the hearts or the clubs or the spades, and then a card gets drawn and five more people come out, five more, five out, five more, and then there's finally the Joker, and they're the last person to come out, and that's when the match actually starts, and it's an over the top battle royal, or over the top rope battle royal. But this was just the first pin wins, and I thought that was kind of strange for being such a large match. I don't think it works. I think the way a gauntlet match would work is elimination, one on one person gets eliminated, another one comes in. I don't. I think they got too ambitious with this, and I wasn't too huge of a fan.
Yeah, no. First thing, the casino part was pretty cool with the, like you said, the cards and everything, the jack and the heart. Um, that part was really cool. I liked that when I first introduced to it. My first time seeing it was at Battle Royale, was a women's Battle Royale, and I forgot to return.
Or Ruby Soho, I think.
Ruby Soho, yeah, and it was an all in. That was a cool concept. I was like, that's better. That's almost better than the Royal Rumble concept that's been overused for so long. And it's a classic. They're not going to change it, but it was a cool new gimmick thing they added, and they just took it away for a gauntlet match. Just a basic gauntlet match. It wasn't a casino one, in my opinion. It was just a gauntlet. It was just the casino part was gone. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a cool concept up there with the Rumble too. Like it was a way to reinvent a battle royale without really reinventing it, just adding a cool concept. So turning it into a gauntlet match, I think they kind of disappointed me with that. That's my biggest complaint, as well as the ending, which we can get to. But some other surprises, I thought Zack Sabre Jr. coming in. He's always a fun surprise. He's such a great technical wrestler that whenever he shows up, he's gonna do something cool. And
Yeah.
also the big surprise everybody's talking about, Ricochet finally comes to AEW, where I think he is going to thrive. I don't know about you. I don't know what your opinions are, but I believe we're on the same page here.
I'm happy for Ricochet. Like I said, I watched W more than I watched AEW. I wanted him to stay in W, but he wasn't being used, and I understand fully why he left. Um, I just like my biggest thing of AEW, and I always fear when people they take wrestlers is similar to what happened with Jay White. Are you gonna be able to utilize them more than a couple months before you put them in a tag team and trios? And I know people are gonna say, well, he's able to wrestle tag team, he'll look great in there. I just and my biggest thing, Ricochet is gonna be awesome. I don't see him become a needle mover unless he it drastically changes. I know he's had great melody at Will Ospreay. They're obviously gonna use that. You should use it. There gonna be some other wrestlers he could wrestle with. If he wrestles with Bryan Danielson, Swerve, MJF, there's a lot of people he could wrestle with. But again, my belief of Ricochet is, um, I just again people put him in his high steps he needs to be in the main event and he needs to prove it. But also, can he be continuously good in this moment, or is his weakness are going to show eventually?
No, and I don't think anybody's questioning his in-ring talent. I think that itself will, make him a fan favorite just because he's
Right.
going to have such banger matches. But in terms of being champion and carrying a program, let's see if he, given this opportunity, because we know he's going to get an opportunity.
Correct.
Can he do it? And I think that's a good point. Is he his biggest struggle in WWE was always his promo cutting ability, his storytelling ability with a mic, not in the ring. So
Right.
if he can work on that, if the freedom of AEW gives as opposed to the scripted nature of WWE allows him to shine and show his personality more, I think he'll have no trouble getting over. But it's just a matter of if.
Yeah, I think he'll be over no matter what because of the wrestling match. But can he just be more than just a tag team wrestler slash a wrestler that's all in the bottom? But hey, that's for
No,
him to
for
work.
sure. I agree with you. He's not. He will always be a fan favorite just because of his wrestling. But like you said, will he be world champion material? That's to be seen.
Yeah, and that's up to him. I mean, he's the only one who can work on it. He has the opportunity. He chose this over a lot of places, and yeah, he had a good crowd reaction. Obviously, Ricochet, like I said, everyone knows him. People love him. We know what's going to happen with him. But speaking towards the end, my man Christian Cage returns, and kind of I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's kind of weird that you just have a wrestler that all of a sudden is contending for a title. But I kind of get it because he was contending for the world belt, but still, Yeah, him. As soon as he walked in, I knew he was gonna win. It was just
I'm
kind of
kind of with you. Once I saw him, it was like Roman Reigns entering the Rumble many years ago. It's like he's gonna win. But at the same time, like I was saying earlier, Cage is on such a world class run right now that I'm okay with him winning. I just don't like the way he won. I don't love the whole kill switch coming out as
oh
Luchasaurus.
yeah, that
What
happened.
I don't know what your take on
Oh,
that
that was
is.
awful. First of all, why would Justin Roberts know to call him Luchasaurus? Like, did Kill Switch come after the match like, hey, call me Luchasaurus? Like,
Yeah, no,
that was dumb.
they made it such a emphasis for, so it seems like okay, finally we're getting the blow off to this or to this story that they've been teasing. Christian taking advantage of him, changing his name, making him put everything aside to only boost up Christian. And when Christian fails, he blames him. So finally, this dinosaur has had enough, and he's going to turn on the guy who's been putting him down. But instead, lifts Christian up, puts him on top of the body. 1, 2, 3. Christian's the winner again.
Yeah, also the name sucks. I know it's been like that for a while, but the name actually just sucks. It's just Christian
No,
Dynamite.
Killswitch is the worst name in AEW, and I know that's probably part of the gimmick. That's what makes him so bad. They changed it, or that's what makes Christian such a heel. He changed the beloved name of Luchasaurus to a terrible name, Killswitch.
Yeah, no. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see who. I'm not gonna. We're not gonna have about the World Championship match until later. But Cage is obviously gonna have a match with the person who won. Um, I gave this match a 3 out of 5 just because I really like Okada's wrestling. I think Ricochet's return was awesome. I always add fan reactions that are important to matches. They are the reason why the story continues. So yeah, I had a 3 out of 5. I don't know about you.
I'm surprised you had it that low because I was going for more 3.5, 4. I settled on 3.5 just because, like I said, the ending really did turn me off. I'm okay with Cage winning. Cage as a heel against you know, we who wins later. Like I think that's going to be a great match when it happens. And Cage is such a top level performer that him winning is not the problem. I just think there's so many other ways he could have won, and also just the way that they changed the battle royal to the gauntlet, and they didn't really explain it, and I all of that just kind of turned me down from what could have been a great match because the wrestling, like you said, from Okada, from Saber, from Ricochet, from Orange Cassidy, everyone involved was great. There was so much stuff going on, but so many things just turned me off that I got to go down to a 3.5 star.
Also, I'm gonna make this comment real quick that I one thing about AEW I don't like. Everyone's protected. Christian Cage pinned Kyle O'Reilly. I have no idea if he's been on TV recently, what he's been doing, but I feel like I don't hear that name often enough. And of course, he's the one that gets pinned because obviously he's the least known wrestler. I wish Cage pinned someone else because you could have created a rivalry out of that. But like again, it seems like Tony Khan's scared to like make it the wrestlers losses because he feels like that would impact them too much. When in reality, that would probably help create more stories and stuff like that. I don't think
Yeah,
Kyle.
and I think he could have pinned Nigel McGuinness. It's his first time back.
Yeah,
McGinn, and I think because now I think too going forward, like they brought it up in the scrum, is McGuinness going to go back to commentary? Is he going to be a wrestler? I think he's going to be a wrestler now. So you could set up Nigel McGuinness's first story, even though McGuinness is a heel, so you probably don't want to go against Cage, but still, I feel like you could have done something with that. You could have made something work. McGuinness is going to be cheered right now. He's returning. He's been out of action for so long
yeah. I mean, you
that
can
you
easily
could have
make him a
made it
face.
work for a storyline.
Yeah. I agree 100%. You can make him easily a face. But yeah, that's my critique about that specifically. Kyle O'Reilly should have been one pin. It should have been someone else. I know people are gonna say that's a stupid thing to complain about, but I disagree. You need to create storylines. Don't just make it. Don't go the easy way out and just like, oh, Kyle O'Reilly could take a loss. Doesn't matter. My our next match
And
is.
no,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I agree. And also too with a pay-per-view 2 weeks away, you got to use this time to create some stories. And I think a 16-man gauntlet match is a great opportunity to create some stories.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Also I like to mention I like seeing Jeff Jarrett still out there. Management wrestling for like 40 years. TNA legend. Um, Fantastic. Of course, you need to bring the guitar. I forgot who got hit with the guitar, but of course, you always need to have that.
I think it was Hangman.
And Mark Briscoe, excuse me. I don't know much about him, but just his aura is fantastic. I gotta speak about that. We didn't really mention about him, but And Adam Page, Adam Page. Um, to our next match, to Will Ospreay and MJF. Honestly, um, great match. I love the entrance from MJF.
Yeah, him as the American champion, it's just it works.
And that belt is fuck. That belt is sick. Um,
Yeah, knowing the ending, it sucks that they got rid of it, and I get it. I like the way the international championship looks. I think they're both great belts. But
right.
something about the way that American belt looked, it hit different.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for United States belts, whether it's the WCW one, the WWE one, or even this one. The red, white, and blue always looks great on a championship belt. And Will Ospreay had a cool entrance with that Creed. I never played the game, so I didn't get the references too much. But
No, it still I think makes him it shines the star a little bit. You see a big, even if you don't play it, everybody knows what Assassin's Creed is.
right,
Everybody's heard of it. Everybody's familiar with it. So giving him that backing, that sponsorship shows that he is, a star. He's someone to look forward to in the future. And everything Will Ospreay has done in AEW has impressed.
yeah. So to start with this match, I know a lot of people are gonna hate that I say this, but I didn't care for beginning the match. Um, a lot of flips from Will Ospreay, and I know people are gonna say, "Oh, you're just saying the same thing." My issue with this, they did the same setup like 4 times, where they both be on the ground for a while and just get up. MJF would try to pull off a move. Will Ospreay does like 3 reversals and hits a flip kick and then falls down again. They did this about 3 or 4 times. I felt like in a row, and Will Ospreay is such a great wrestler. You don't need to pull this. That's a gimmick. Like I feel like it's just you're at the point making him a gimmick. Oh, he can do all this athletic stuff. Utilize it in wrestling. Don't make it a spot fest. You don't need to do that. He's a wrestler. Um, I know a lot of people disagree with that. I don't know how you feel about that exactly.
I get where you're coming from. I do disagree with you a little bit. I think obviously it's kind of what sets him and certain people like Ricochet apart is their athletic ability and what they're able to do with it. So I'm not mad at it. Obviously, I don't think they need to just spam it all the time like they do. But at the same time, when it's him doing it, it looks so clean every time. It just flows well 90% of the time. So I'm not going to complain about it. But I do see where you're coming from. That it's definitely something that they just spam and spam. But I do like how eventually they start working over an injury with Osprey. Make it seem like MJF's the conniving heel he is. He's taking advantage of it, working that injury, and obviously Will Ospreay comes back and is the resilient babyface. But we can talk about the second half of the match. I know you brought up a good point to me if you want to bring it up about the two halves.
Yeah, the first like this was 2 different matches. It really was. First half, a lot of flips, a lot of, like laying the ground, and AEW kept doing this thing throughout every match with the ring outs. It seems like everyone had to get to 9 until before they get in the ring. Don't like that. Save it for one match, but it's a whole different thing. The first half match, I didn't like I mentioned before. A lot of just it seems like Osprey was just mainly just flipping for reversals. I don't really care for that. I feel like the matches should have been much more like I said, spamming it. You shouldn't spam it. It should be more fluid. There's ways to do it, and there's ways not to do it. Rey Mysterio obviously flips a lot, but he is fluid with when he does it. It's not just hey, let me do 60 flips in other 3 minutes just to prove a point for a reversal. We get it. He's athletic. Let him wrestle. Second half of the match, as soon as MJF tells him or say something like, "Oh, you're gonna keep effing flipping," the match changed. It felt like a real match. MJF was able to put his best work in, and MJF still to this day I think is the best wrestler in AEW besides Kenny Omega, and MJF is probably the top heel in both promotions of wrestling. Easily he, I know Will Ospreay's a good wrestler, but I feel like the way he wrestled and he controlled the pace was perfect the way with Ospreay, and Will Ospreay was able to shine through that. I love this match at the second half at least.
No, and I love the match overall. I definitely agree with you that it's almost two different matches, but at the same time, I do like the overall story that was told. But yeah, I think MJF, obviously everybody talks him up as this great promo worker, which he is. He's the best heel in AEW, and I think he's probably the best heel in if he was in WWE, he'd be the best heel in WWE. Obviously, Roman Reigns is now kind of a
Yeah.
tweener, so I'm not even going to do that argument. But I think he just everything about him, from his look to the way he presents himself to the way he speaks. He just makes himself just the most unlikable prick, and it just works. And then the way he controls the match, he, does all these things to get the crowd invested to make them hate him, even though he's so lovable from a fan perspective. Just the work he puts in, but he's he's definitely one of my favorites from AEW, and he always will be.
Yeah, I believe that the main focus from now on with him is like his, he's the best promo in both promotions. But people need to talk about his wrestling more. Just that pace he had. He was able to work the crowd. He worked Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay was able to recover and counter perfectly. That's what we need
And
from
yeah,
a
the way he sells, like he makes it seem like you know we all know wrestling's not real, but he makes it believable.
yeah, and that's my point. Well, MJF, it seems like has an older vibe when it comes to wrestling. He reminds me of Christian Cage. He reminds me of Chris Jericho. Reminds me of Bret Hart. It's awesome the way he's able to tell stories. I know people are gonna say that's crazy. You're comparing to the legends, but in all seriousness, that is a loss. That's a loss trait that a lot of wrestlers don't have these days. They go super fast and just assume it's and everyone likes it because it's fast to watch. I don't know. He wrestles so slow. I was able to see his facial reactions. I saw Will Ospreay's. You're able to tell a story, and I think that's the most important thing about wrestling. If you can't tell a story with your matches, then all you're doing is just dancing outside or dancing in a ring. Maybe I'm a little too harsh, but is probably one of the best workers, if not the best.
No, I agree. And then also the ending, I loved, because honestly, I didn't know Daniel Garcia was coming back. So seeing him come back and being able to continue that story, like while yes, they're telling the story for All In, they just built the match for All Out. Daniel Garcia surprise return prevents MJF from winning. We already know that MJF is now going to use this as the only reason he lost because Daniel Garcia interfered and all that happened. So you set up another fun match. Daniel Garcia is a great worker. MJF is going to put on a great match with him. He's going to build this match in 2 weeks, and especially after he took him out, the surprise was there, and I thought it was a good ending. And then obviously Osprey hitting the Tiger Driver after teasing that he wasn't going to do it. He was afraid to do it after what he did to Danielson, and all that setup and build up for him to finally hit it, and for it to be the move that puts away MJF. I thought it was just a great ending. I have no complaints.
Yeah, very smart way to use it. I had this match 3.5 out of 5. It would have been higher, or sorry, 3 halves or 3.5 out of 5. I would have it much higher if just that first half match I didn't care for. And again, I'll be criticized for my opinion. I don't care. Have I believe wrestling should be a story. It's not about flips. So, what about you? What's your rating?
I'm gonna go with 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was, like I said, I'm not as critical of the first half. While I do see where you're coming from, I'm not in the same boat as you in terms of how much I disliked it. But I think the ending was beautiful. I think obviously you put two workers of that class in a ring together, they're gonna make magic. And then even the presentation, like them coming out, the fan reactions, the way that they made them both look like stars, I have very little to complain about. So 4.5 out of 5, probably the third best match of the night, and which is saying a lot considering how great of that match was to me.
Yeah, I'm surprised you said third, but I guess we'll head to the next match, which I'm assuming this is your second. But Mercedes Monet versus Brett Baker. Um, Unfortunately, I'm gonna say no. No, I'm just joking. But I was gonna say I like Britt Baker. Mercedes Monet, I liked her in WWE as Sasha Banks. I haven't been a fan of her so far. Um, Maybe it's not fair for her, but obviously she's arguably the biggest name of women wrestler they have. And honestly, I just didn't care for this match. I know you're gonna disagree with me, but this was such a basic, average match that like I just there's nothing that really stands out to me, to be honest with you.
No, and as much as I loved Ride the Money Train, I think she is for sure the best women's wrestler in all of wrestling. I think she's just the best. No, nothing coming from me. But this match, it just didn't hit that level that you would expect from two performers of Britt and Mercedes's level. They're the two of the top stars, but they were, you know, and I know it's not how we should be comparing these matches, but of the two women's matches, they were for sure they came in second. There was no way around it, unfortunately. Obviously, I think Mercedes comes out and she looks like a star and she presents herself as a star and she's sells her ass off. She really does put everything into it, but this match, I think their chemistry was just off. I wasn't I just couldn't get really too invested in it. It felt sloppy at times and it just wasn't there.
It felt like this match should have been on Dynamite or the Zero Hour. That's how it felt. It wasn't good. It's not as bad as Jericho versus Hook, but
No.
like I have like the only thing that I can remember in the match is Britt Baker doing the Eddie Guerrero scene with Mercedes' partner. I don't know her name, which not to discredit the referee. If someone gets hit by the belt, I'm pretty sure it's disqualification, but we'll just let that go. Um, but second, I mean, only reason I kind of like it because Mercedes Monez. One thing I know about her, she loves Eddie Guerrero. I think that's the reason why she started wrestling. So
Yeah.
smart thing to do. That's a great thing. I have nothing else positive about this match. This match was so boring for me. The Tony match should have been in this spot in the main events of this match. I get Mercedes' a big name. I know Britt Baker is a big name for AEW and was the biggest AEW women's wrestler for so long, but this match seemed like none of them rehearsed. Very awful. I'm giving this basically I'd say a 1.5 out of 5. It's not as bad as the Jericho match, but it was so bad for me.
I would say it's like a 2.5 out of 5. It was an average match. There was things to like this. There was one spot, where off the top rope, Baker reversed something into like a power slam, and it looked really good. Obviously, the Eddie spot I think was fun, and there was a lot of stuff going for it. But like I said, it just felt clunky. The crowd wasn't into it, and I just with people of this caliber, the way Tony pushed it, they they booked it as if the TBS championship was the women's world championship.
Right.
That's how big these stars are. That it overshadowed the women's world championship. But at the end of the day, they didn't put up the story. They didn't put up the match, and it's not something that we're going to be talking about. Unlike Tony and Mariah, which is going to be honestly a match of the contender year for this year, and it's going to be something that everybody talks about. It's one of those matches. While this one, it's just going to be talked about. It's going to be remembered as, oh yeah, I remember when they fought. It was okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, I have nothing positive to say about this match. For the next match, I also didn't care for this, but Jack Perry versus Darvin Allen. I
I
love,
think it fell victim to time. It could have been fine, but I felt like I blinked and this match was over. That's how fast it felt for me. I don't know about if you felt the same way.
yeah, it was a 10-minute match, just as long as the Hook and Jericho match. And to be honest, this is a coffin match, right? Or a casket match, as some people like to call it. Um, Here's the thing, Jack Perry, cool wrestler. I like the gimmick because of what happened last year with Punk, and All In.
Yeah, he turned a crappy situation into a great gimmick.
But I've never been a fan of Darby Allin. I feel like he just people love him because he does crazy stuff, and there's a difference between doing crazy stuff and putting on good matches. This match, just the biggest one I can remember was when he like jumped into the casket and he took a nasty hit, which is disgusting. And then well, Jack Perry used not garbage bag, what's it called?
The body bag.
Body bag and the cover up. That was awesome. I like those two parts. Um, just the match, just nothing else really stood out, and I just felt like you might as well not have this match. But I don't know how well so you feel like this.
I just feel like it didn't get the chance it deserved. I mean, these are two of their quote unquote,
Pillars.
cornerstones, pillars, but they didn't get the time that they probably deserved. And I felt like there was some cool stuff like the body bag, obviously in a coffin match, Darby's going to try to kill himself in every single way possible. And
Right.
even Darby coming out with the thumbtacks glued to his face and like, Jack trying to punch him, seeing, it's hurting him because of what Darby did. And then Darby using it as a weapon. I feel like there was a lot of cool stuff that could have happened if they had been given 10 more minutes, but unfortunately they weren't given that time. So they had to they did what they could with what they had.
Yeah, and just no spoil. Obviously, Sting returns at the end to save them, and you know how I feel about
Honestly, I wish they would have cut. I wish they would have cut that whole thing and
agreed.
just given them more match time.
Yeah, because Sting's cool, but he just retired. I know, and
Yeah,
I know he wants a payday for All In. I know, and it makes sense. But for the love of God, leave Darby Allin out of this. He has not done anything by himself in a long time. He had a single thing and then he got hurt. I think he got hit by a bus, which is it's just freaking crazy that he got. Of course, he got hit by a bus.
yeah,
But just for the love of God, let him do something alone. He doesn't need Sting. Sting is
I
great,
agree.
but like I swear they made Sting like he's like almost Jesus, like he can't be touched, and it's just like for the love of God, just let it go. You don't need this, and they should have just added more time to the match. For the love of God.
I agree. Like I get it. It's fun for the fans there. They get to see Sting live. Like you said, he just retired, and a couple months later, he's already coming back. And sure, it's not a match, but to make I don't know, to make his returns or his sporadic appearances seem more memorable, they have to be spaced out more, and it can't always be Darby loses, Darby loses, Darby loses, and oh, there's Sting to save him. Sting's retired now. Darby's got to be his own man. That's the whole point. These pillars, they're grown up. They all their mentors have, either betrayed them, left the company, retired. Like they're not kids anymore. They need to start actually holding the weight like they were supposed to.
Yeah, I mean to be honest, I remember when they were talking about Darby Allin when I first watched it because it was wrestling CM Punk and All Out. I just like he hasn't grown since then. Like he hasn't, and it's crazy for the four pillars. Jack Harley finally grows into the gimmick because of a real life incident, which is smart to do. But it took him so long to find a place for him. And then just MJF's the only one that's good. Sammy Guevara's he's not even relevant anymore.
No, he's not. And yeah, two of the four pillars I think are exceeding. Darby, I think, puts on great matches. He's always entertaining, but the character is so stagnant. He wins one match and then he loses seven to make up for it. It's just
And I still think
it's
Jack
not
Perry.
working anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jack Perry needs room to improve, but obviously,
He's
honestly,
getting there, but this gimmick was the perfect thing for him to start really showcasing himself and working on himself.
yeah, we'll see how things go, and I just hope that they do right things for him because, like I said, I liked him as Jungle Boy. I like him better as Jack Perry. Um, Go ahead. What you were gonna say?
I had nothing more to add. I was just going
Oh,
to say my overall grade for it.
oh, I
I,
thought
I
you were
would
gonna
give
say.
it two. I give it 2 out of 5 stars. Like I said, there were so many cool things that could have happened. They teased a lot and they they really presented certain things really strong, but I just can't get behind it when it's
Honestly,
so slow and it's such a fast match.
this match wasn't that like I said wasn't great for me. It's a 1.5 out of 5 for me. I know people are gonna say, damn, that's really low. They like I said, spots are not gonna carry a match for me in the ratings. You got to do better. It was just on the same level as the Mercedes match to me. Yeah, they had a cool moment. That doesn't matter to me. That match was not memorable. I will never remember that match. Only thing I'll probably remember is Sting. But
Yeah, he's that, and then maybe the thumbtacks.
I didn't remember the thumbtacks. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just remembered the body bag. But then again, we both remembered two separate things, which shows you how bad this match was. Uh, so the last match in the main event and the most important match of All In, and your man Bryan Danielson. Uh,
The goat, the goat,
yes, Bryan
the
Danielson.
LeBron James of wrestling.
uh, wow. But but wrestling against Swerve and title for his career. It's a 26-minute match, just as long as the Casino Royale. And so honestly, to get prompts to do, to make this clear, I didn't watch WWE in 2014, nor did I
I
watch.
did.
Yeah, so I have no correlation to Daniel Bryan when he won in the WrestleMania 30 moment. I know it was a great moment. No correlation. This is like one of the first few times I actually would watch a full match of AEW from him. That wasn't a gimmick because I think one of the first matches I saw was the one he had in All Out last year with the was it Daniel Garcia? Oh, Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks. That's right.
Yeah, Ricky Starks, the strap
Yes,
match,
yes. I get them confused all the time. I don't know why.
which that was a great match still,
But
but
yeah, it wasn't like a match to me. Like I said, gimmick. I always say, gimmick matches that only could take you so far. Sometimes it makes it worse. Anywho, that match was good. This match was better. I've grown to love Swerve. Um, Actually, this is your guy. I want you to go first about this. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, this was from all my Bryan Danielson matches, Daniel Bryan matches. This is probably a top three match for me. Just everything with him, the title of his career, and especially with like the career being such a real possibility. It did like it felt real. It felt like Swerve could actually win. You know, he's such an up and coming star that him being the one to put Bryan Danielson in retirement, you know, it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. And I think that alone drew so much attention. It, you know, it made it so much more interesting seeing every single near fall. I mean, Bryan was putting in work, Swerve was putting in work. They were just, you know, throwing everything at each other. You know, both men looked super strong at the end, and I don't know how everybody feels, but I feel like this is definitely on par with the moment of him winning at WrestleMania 30. I think the WrestleMania 30 was a little bit more special just because of, you know, everything he had to come through, and you know, it was such a time where you don't expect WWE to make the change to listen to the fans and to finally give us what we wanted. But this is right up there. This, I mean, everything from the way they presented it, they made him look like the the fucking man. He was the guy.
Yeah. I'm gonna compliment where the matches do. I'm gonna be honest with you. Swerve grew on me. Did not care for Swerve even against that match against Mojo. I was like, I didn't care for it, and maybe it's because Bryan Danielson's such a great wrestler that he made Swerve even look better. But like, holy crap, this match was good. I have nothing negatively to say about this match. The only thing I don't care for was, and I'm skipping a little ahead because honestly, this whole match was fantastic. Great crowd reaction, great entrance for Bryan Danielson. That little promo in the beginning. Um, it just it felt nice. Um, my only thing that's a little weird, and I'll just say this, is making Swerve a heel. And I know that they probably would rather it's better to have a heel and a face than just two faces. But
I think he was more of like, yes, Swerve played the heel, but I think he was more of a heel in the sense of he wanted to bring everything out of Bryan, and you know, obviously he did some heely things in the story, and he was definitely the heel in the match. But I mean, there's no way that you can paint Bryan as the heel
of
in
course
a
not.
potential career match. It wasn't going to work. Nobody, and I mean nobody was going to be booing Bryan Danielson. Nobody was going to be rooting for him to retire. He's such a beloved figure at this point. And like I said, he's the goat of wrestling, and I think that's a valid opinion to have at this point. He just puts on banger after banger every match he's in. I'm just in awe. It's like, how is this guy just so consistently great?
Right, and honestly, just the just I mean the aura of the match was fantastic. It was the right crowd to do it in. A lot of good reverses from Bryan Danielson. Like I said, the difference between him and Will Ospreay. Ospreay does all these reversals that are very flippy, doesn't make sense. It's just not flowing. Bryan Danielson, for this era, he is. I'm gonna say this now. He might not agree with me. He is the Bret Hart of this era. Uh, just his wrestling is so great and it's just consistent. You
Yeah, it's
know,
so smooth, technical. Everything he does, like the every transition, every little thing he does, it just flows. He just understands wrestling.
yeah, and I have no negative thing to say about him. Um, like I said, my only issue was him sort of being a slightly heel didn't make sense when I don't like the spot where Bryan Danielson like had a fake seizure moment, quote unquote, and then all of a sudden Swerve
Yeah,
came.
I'm getting kind of tired of the, oh, Danielson's hurt. Oh, like, is he, you know, his neck, his head, like for someone like him, it truly, like, especially being such a big fan, it is always a concern, and it's getting to the point where like they're overdoing it, it's losing its luster, and I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm tired of seeing it, like you said.
Yeah, no, they need to they just gotta stop doing that kind of crap. I just don't care for it. I just wish they would stop that. And then you know Swerve is still a face, and him pushing away the medics and everything. You did not need to do all that. You didn't need to do all that. Or they just kind of stay away from that. Um, yeah. But you know what though? I'll give them credit where credit due deserves. They just they did really well. Who and then Swerve breaking his finger, quote unquote, from Brian Danielson. That was also fantastic. Um, just a
No,
fantastic.
and I liked how Swerve, seemed like this unbeatable heel. Everything that Danielson was throwing at him, it just was bouncing off. Like he does the running knee and just eats it. He looks like, honestly, Swerve looks like Superman. He's just unbeatable. And then finally, the one thing that could potentially distract Swerve, Adam Page shows up, continuing once again another great story going on between these two. Like it's gonna be, it has to be 4 matches I think now between them, but all the matches have been just amazing. Their story, like they're gonna be like John Cena and Randy Orton. Their careers are just intertwined now. They're just so inseparable. So Adam Page coming out, being so hell bent on making Swerve lose the title. That's the one thing that takes Swerve off of Bryan Danielson, and that's how he's able to capitalize and win, which I think once again is a great way to kind of protect Swerve, but also Danielson still comes out looking strong as hell, looking just as good as Swerve.
Yeah. No, for sure. And just I know another thing I bring up. I know it was cool to have a career for a title match. I kind of wish, because we know Brian Danielson and eventually wins and taps out Swerve in a great like reversal and then finally getting the submission in. And just a reference to his WrestleMania 30 moment. Um, I just wish they just waited and then just been like when he's holding the belt to like today he's held the belt and he just announced that hey, once I lose I'm retiring. I wish they just waited till then. I know hindsight 2020, but you
I
know
get it, but like I was saying earlier, and that's where I'm going to disagree. I feel like it like with him already saying that this is going to be his last full year of active competition. I feel like it added to the suspense because truly Swerve was like such a big name. He was doing so well. He was growing organically with the fans that like, and Brian Danielson had always lost. He never wanted to be AEW World Champion. And, I think it added to the suspense. It made it more who's actually going to win. Is this going to be how Brian goes out? Is Swerve going to get that rub? How's it going to go? And then I like what they did today. I think it adds to it. It's, that's the way I want Danielson to go out is, kind of like Ric Flair, but with a belt. He gets to say, I'm the champion, and until I lose this championship, I'm not going anywhere. And then once you take it from me, that's me admitting I don't have it anymore. You finally like someone's finally surpassed me, and I'm ready to step down.
yeah, you know what? I guess that's fair enough. I would prefer the other way just because I feel like it'd been more surprise, more of a shock. But hey, the match was fantastic. I'm not gonna take anything away from it. I love Swerve did how he did the gritty. The only thing I'll say that's negative about this match, and the only thing is stop doing the close ring countouts. You did that 5 times in a row. I feel, or 5 times in this whole pay per view. Save it for some matches. Communicate with other wrestlers. Don't keep doing it. It doesn't. It's not suspense anymore. As soon as I hear like them just sitting out, I know they're going to wait till 8 or 9. That's it. Just don't have to keep doing it. We know he's not gonna get counted out. Change it up a little bit. And that's just a little insult I'll have. But honestly, besides that, I have this match 5 out of 5. I don't rank a lot of matches 5 out of 5, but I rank matches that are legendary and that matches that you can show someone and anyone can enjoy. Like I said, I don't believe that there's a lot of 5 on 5 or 5-star matches. I am not like Dave Meltzer ranks it, but this is the one. This is one of the best AEW's best matches of all time, and I have no complaints. Really, like I said, Swerve impressed me. Brian Danielson, I haven't watched a lot of him, but watching this match really impressed me. I wish I've seen more of him. I'm kind of sad he's retiring.
No, for sure, and especially like for me being such a big fan in 2013, seeing Brian Danielson, see him. I got to see him and be in Team Hell No. Got to see him grow into that single star and really change the WWE landscape. And then for him to get injured and force retirement, I'm just glad he got this second chance and he's just taken advantage of it. This is definitely, like I said, top three moment in his career, top three match to me. Maybe even top two. I can't put it number one, but this is for sure a 5-star match. This was an instant classic. This is a match that, like you said, I could show to a non-wrestling fan, and they could get behind it. They could say, okay, that was cool. That was fun. That this guy, both these guys, they got to be two of the best wrestlers in the game right now.
Yeah, and not to switch topics, but this was the beautiful thing about wrestling. One of the best wrestling matches, but I think this is the second 5 on 5 star match that I have. The first one is Cody and Roman at WrestleMania 40. Not the prettiest match of all time, but the storytelling, the crowd reaction, everything about it, to me, puts that in 5 stars. And that's the beautiful thing about wrestling. You don't wrestling could put so far in a show, but if you have good storytelling and you're wrestling, good promos, be prior, and good story, it carries the match. This story is on par with the Cody and Roman Reigns match.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. There's just so many different ways to tell a wrestling story. You can do it like Danielson, where it's all about the in-ring work and it's the story you tell in the ring, or you could do it like the WWE way. When it's great, it's amazing. It's the build up, it's the moments, it's the Rock comes out, and then Cena comes out, and then Undertaker, and you're doing all these huge moments, and then you finally get the big emphatic win from the baby face, the guy who's been chasing. Though, like, that's the beautiful thing about wrestling, and that's why it's so fun to talk about. There's so many different ways to look at it, and sure, we agreed with a lot of it today, but I'm sure Bash at Berlin or whatever it's called. When we talk about that, it's going to be a different story.
Yeah, I don't hate or excuse me WWE wrestling. Um, but honestly, just 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 really, it's just really good. And yeah, I enjoyed the pay per view overall. Not all the matches were fantastic, but the matches that stand out to me is the main event, Bryan Danielson versus Swerve, best match, probably one of the best matches of AEW history. Will Ospreay and MJF, and then I gotta check who's my third, but it actually might be just tied with the ladder match slash Casino Battle Royale. But I prefer the ladder match over the Battle Royale. And if I saw the 24 match, I'd probably been my third match. Unfortunately, I didn't watch it. My thing's a little slightly off.
For sure, and that's what my top three is, which is the obvious top three for everyone who watched the full pay per view. Um, Brian and Swerve number one, Tony Mariah number two, and then Will and MJF three. I think those three matches alone would make any pay per view a great pay per view. And then you have the fun moments, the spots. Obviously, you have some low moments, but I think all together, I'd give All In a 4 out of 5. I think it was enjoyable from start to finish. I think it had some just excellent wrestling, some excellent stories told, and definitely would recommend somebody to watch this full pay per view.
I don't know if I feel about that fully. Like I said, not all the matches stand out. I'm a little more pickier than you. Um, how many matches were there? There was 12, right? I'm gonna double check this real quick. Uh, where is it? Where is it? Yeah, there was 12 matches, and honestly, I feel like only 3 of them really stood out, and that's including the Tony Storm match. The 2 of them were above average, and the rest were just either average or below average.
I would still say that the Casino Gauntlet match there was enough good for it. Like I said, I didn't like the structure of it, and I didn't like the ending, but everything in between it, or everything before the ending, and take away the structure, I think it was. I think it was a fun, good match that you could show that to somebody, and that would be fun. Or you show it to a hardcore fan, they'd be happy with Zack Sabre coming out, with McGuinness coming out, with Ricochet debuting. I think there's a lot of memorable stuff from that too.
Yeah, I could see that. Honestly, for me, it's more of like a 3 out of 5 for the pay per view. It's above average. It's it was okay. The main event's fantastic. I think that carries the show. MJF Ospreay, like I said, fantastic, and then Tony Storm match was good. But yeah, that's my views on AEW. But quick question: what is your favorite Bryan Danielson match? What's number one for you?
I mean, it's nostalgic, but it's definitely WrestleMania 30. Like I said, it's just hard for me to put anything above that. Like the story with it, it's like I was much younger then too. I was what 2013. I was 14, probably 15, maybe. I was just getting back into wrestling. I still wasn't really into the community where I really was like, a snark fan. I was just enjoying it, and that match was perfect for me. That's really like after that, I was like, okay, I think I'm hooked on wrestling again for life. And here I am, 11 years later, still just loving wrestling. Sure, there's stuff that annoys me, and I'm not able to watch it every week, but I can sit down and watch an AEW or WWE TV show, and I'm going to be entertained.
Yeah, wrestling has definitely had a renaissance program. Triple H taking over Vince. Vince is gone fully, thank God. Love Vince, but he was 10 years too long. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to go back to the Bryan Danielson moment, that he wasn't even in the Rumble, and the crowd again, like Cody Rhodes' situation, changed that what the story plan for WWE and made it 10 times better than it ever could have been. That's the beauty of wrestling. We still have an impact compared to a lot of things. A TV show could suck, an anime could suck, a game could suck. Our voices won't matter as much. But what matters in wrestling? Oh, it's us because we allow stories to continue. Because we don't like something, we'll let people know. And as much as you know, everyone knows me knows I don't really care for Tony Khan. Um, at least I'll give him credit here. He somewhat listens, and I know Triple H listens too. I know it's reported that Triple H actually looks at tweets live while wrestling is happening, so he pays attention to what the crowd is saying and what people are saying about the show, and he tries to adjust his
Which
audience.
that itself is crazy. Just thinking that
I know.
Triple H is actually seeing our feedback live and making adjustments. I could never in a million years have pictured that WWE would actually care that much, but it's a new era, like you said, and our voices mean something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not the biggest fan of WWE with some things they're doing. I still
No, and I think both companies have places where they can improve, but this is definitely a good era for wrestling right now.
for sure, and not to go too far off topic, but this is something I actually read, and we can have a small talk about before we get off. Um, I bring up that Bryan Danielson is the Bret Hart of his era, but who do you think is actually the more impactful, better wrestler? Not just wrestling skill, not wrestling talent, but overall career wise. People made this argument for Bryan Danielson that he had 3 Hall of Fame careers in different companies. You know how I am. I just because you have in 3 different areas doesn't take away someone's one area of Hall of Fame work.
I mean, I think obviously with wrestling, it's so subjective. It's not like basketball or football where you have true stats and data to back it up. But I think that's what makes this a fun debate. But you know me, I'm going to be pro Bryan Danielson over Bret Hart. Now, obviously, I don't want to take any, I don't want to be disrespectful to Bret Hart. He's obviously a legend. He's one of the best ever, and he is, the original technical genius. But
Correct.
just with like how athletic people are nowadays, like some of the stuff that we're doing in wrestling now, wrestlers in the 80s and 90s couldn't even have imagined back then. And like Danielson is like at the forefront of that. He is the technical wrestler who transformed the game currently, and he's still doing it. He's I think he is so underrated on the mic. Yes, sure, he's not MJF. He's not Cody Rhodes. He's not this guy who's gonna give a 10 out of 10 speech every time he comes out there, but he delivers with passion. He brings the energy, and whether he's the underdog, whether he's a vegan heel champion, whether he's just the badass who's gonna kick your ass, he comes out, he brings passion, he makes you believe, and I think he's so strong in every area, but especially in the ring. I think that just puts him over Hart. And to be fair, Danielson is my number one wrestler of all time. He's not my favorite of all time. He's number two, but in terms of just ability and what everything, he's to me the greatest wrestler of all time.
Yeah, and unfortunately for me, I'm born '96, so I don't recall most of Bret Hart. I was at WrestleMania 13 as a 10-month-old, but I don't remember the match obviously.
And
Um,
that's fair for me too. That's why I'm going to lean towards some of the newer guys because I get to see them every week. But go ahead.
no, Bret Hart. My only thing is with Bret Hart, a lot of people do the same thing with Bryan Danielson. They don't talk about his mic skills. They just say he's a great wrestler, and that was pretty much it. Which Yeah, was Bret Hart great as Austin or Rock or Hogan or even Shawn Michaels? Not really, but he's underrated. I mean, people say like, oh, he's only a goody two shoe. People forget about his heel work in '97 and like the anti-United States. MJF took some of that. MJF used some of some of that Bret Hart's promo and added to his. Like Bret Hart wasn't the best of all time in promos, but he was more than capable. And to give Bret Hart credit where most people won't do or realize, Bret Hart carried WWE after Hulk Hogan retired and until Stone Cold took over the realms. And yeah, people say, well, that's where WWE's worse at the time they started losing WCW. And they are correct with the timing. But for someone, Bret Hart, who carried on his back competing against Hogan and Nash and Hall, Randy Savage, Piper, Warrior eventually, all these people who went to WCW, he stood out and he kept his thing. Obviously, he had a great heel to work with Shawn Michaels, who eventually turned face and he turned heel. And he had Undertaker, but Bret Hart was the main champion of that era. Um, and he had great matches of some of the greatest matches of all time. I mean,
Yeah, and you could argue, and just to put like to help on your side a little bit, you can argue that he helped build Stone Cold's career. Like that match at 13, that's what put Austin over the top, and it doesn't happen without Brett.
yeah, for sure. And to put to raise a little heat, I guess, against this debate. Bryan Danielson, of course, won the championship. That's probably one of the greatest moments of WrestleMania. Unfortunately, he just kept getting hurt, and it seems like that WWE moment where he's supposed to carry the show and just be able the number one guy never really happened because he just got hurt. I don't know when. I know he won the IC belt in 2015 in WrestleMania 31, and he got hurt like 3 weeks later. I don't know how long he held the world belt until he got hurt.
It was a month. He defended it against Kane at the next pay per view, whatever the next pay per view was, and he got hurt during that match. And that's the one thing too is, and you can, I mean, to
That's
be
my
fair,
argument.
both careers got cut short though. I mean, Brett took a kick to the face from Goldberg, and that ended his career short. So like,
My
you
only
can say that about both, but I do get what you're saying. But it's still like leading up to that moment, those like you've never seen fans take over an arena like that in the 2000s. I don't think anything close to that. Obviously, in the 90s, things were crazy. Stone Cold, The Rock, fans were taking over shows, going crazy. But this was the first time in a long time that you really felt the passion, and you saw it in the crowds. You saw them all rally behind one person, and that person was Daniel Bryan, and he
yeah
he really did change the landscape of wrestling, at least WWE wrestling. For even though it was a short period of time, he really changed, and he
yeah
made fans believe that our voices mattered. And sure, it didn't for a long time. That was the only time it did, but he really made fans believe that hey, if we're loud enough, if we're vocal enough, we can do something.
yeah. I again, I guess the only to create like I said that he would unfortunately for Bryan Danielson, he really never had a chance to be the face while Bret Hart had it, and Bret Hart did it for years. And then Bret Hart got hurt towards obviously in his career and just never came back. But at that point, Bret Hart has already done all he needs to do to be a Hall of Famer. Obviously, Bryan Danielson is still a Hall of Famer, but he just never had that moment where he was the face of WWE for long. It just was gone. So if people ever debate that, to me, that's my biggest thing. What did you do as the top guy and what's your role? Here's the thing: Bret Hart and Bryan Danielson are the same tier to me. They're one of the top wrestlers of all time, but they're not a tier of Stone Cold, or Rock, or John Cena, or Undertaker, or
Well,
Hogan.
I think those people are more of like
It's a different tier.
legends. But they're a different kind of tier too. Like I don't know. Obviously, Cena is a legend, and he's always going to be looked at like that. But in terms of wrestling, he was a fine wrestler, but he got people invested with the promos, just like The Rock. Rock's an underrated wrestler. But the promos are what made people stand out. Same with Stone Cold.
No, of
And
course.
I think when you look at people like Danielson and Hart, they're the people who make you think that the wrestling aspect is cool, as opposed to just the story part. And it's hard to compare guys like that. I know they're both wrestlers, but it's almost like apples to oranges. It's just they're two completely different styles.
Yeah, and that's why I mean there's different tiers of wrestling, and that's the truth of wrestlers. Excuse me. You have the people who are have no matter what they are the superstar. Bret Hart. was a superstar and Brian Danielson was a superstar, but they were also superstars moments where it was they had that little chance of opening, whether it was Brian Danielson through fans or Bret Hart was had a chance to open because Hogan was gone. And don't get me wrong, Bret Hart probably would have still been a superstar and been everything, but let's be real, Hogan also didn't want to wrestle with Bret Hart. So if Hogan stayed, Bret Hart would never have Bret Hart would never been a top guy because Stone Cold, or excuse me, because of Hulk Hogan. He just said Bret Hart was too small for him, which is dumb, but that's how wrestling was back then. So
Yeah, and then if Danielson never gets hurt, I would make the argument that he, would have been the face
I agree, but
of WWE. And I think it. And here's the thing: his merch sales were incredible. The fan reaction was incredible. I think he would be remembered much more. I mean, he's already remembered super fondly, but I think he would be remembered in a higher tier, no doubt, if he doesn't get hurt. And even when he came back, he still had so many great runs. Like, who would have thought the vegan world champion would be such a great heel act? But he made it
right,
work.
right, and I can't even take that away from him. I never, like I said, I didn't know much about him, but I never thought he would be a heel again. But he
And then
definitely
too, he led to Kofi Mania, and one of the best stories at that time. He was a big part of that. He main evented another WrestleMania with Edge and Roman Reigns. Like, he still did his second run. While sure, it's never gonna be as memorable as the first one just because of how WrestleMania 30 ended. It was still a great run, and there was so much going for it. And he just, like I said, he everything he touches, he turns to gold.
Yeah, and I know people are gonna say this will never happen, but he will return to WWE at some point in his career.
Everyone does.
Yeah,
I think Moxley is going to at one point.
yeah,
It's just if you've been to WWE and you got the level of success that the Shield did or that you know Daniel Bryan did, you're gonna go back at some point. I don't know for how long. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but it's just gonna happen.
yeah. I mean, end of the day, WWE is the show, and it will always be the show. AEW has a lot of work to catch up. I know people say better wrestling is there, and I'm not gonna really debate that. Unfortunately, sales matter, TV ratings matter, all that does matter. So until that, then WWE is the spot for wrestling, or excuse me, is the promotion. And and I know it's an unpopular opinion. I think if Tony Khan keeps running AEW, it's never going to become the promotion. I think someone else needs to take over, or someone needs to help him at least. Maybe it is Shane McMahon. I don't know, but someone needs to help him.
And that's a debate we can have another day because I don't think you're wrong. I think they just need better marketing and they need to go back to what originally made AEW special, which was the long term planning. Like with the Adam Page story, like the Hangman, that was like 2 years worth of storytelling with a great ending, a great climax at a match at a show that we were at. Like, I don't know. If they can get back to their roots and stop trying to compete with WWE as opposed to just be the like accept you're the alternative, be the alternative, and just focus on them. Which I don't know if Tony can get back to that, and maybe that's your point. But if they can get back to that, and they can get Warner Brothers to get some kind of deal where they're streaming their stuff on Max, pay per views are on Max. I think they could start reaching a larger audience.
For sure, and you're not. I guess that's the biggest thing. I don't believe in Tony Khan, and we'll have this debate later. I just don't believe in Tony Khan wants the best for AEW. He thinks he does, but I think what he's gonna do is end up screwing it. I also don't trust the Young Bucks. But everyone's
Yeah, we're reaching the hour and a half point, so I think
yeah.
this is
I'm
the
gonna
best
call it.
time to cut it off.
Yeah, yeah. So this was our first stream, guys. We're live on Twitch. We probably should mention at the beginning we are live on Twitch always when we do these.
And then we will end up posting later the full clips. This one we might break into two parts. The first part will be the all-in review, and then the second part will be a smaller video of just Danielson versus Bret Hart. But we'll always post on YouTube too.
Yeah, and just follow us. And our next thing we're gonna talk about would be Bash at Berlin. It's this Saturday, September 1st. Also,
We also have a planned debate. Our first official debate. We will be talking the goats of basketball. Both our two top twos. It's just we have them ranked in a slightly different order. LeBron versus Jordan. If you listen, you kind of know where I stand, but you'll be able to see our full arguments on Saturday.
yeah, you'll hear about the King versus Black Jesus himself. Um, but yeah,
Jesus in a pair of Nikes.
yeah. Um, All right. Well, see y'all later.
Take care.